Hi there, good noon, and welcome to BYJU'S exam prep channel that is dedicated to making you an amazing and enormous success in your chosen pursuit of the B School exams. My name is Vikrant. I have coached thousands of students over the course of last 22 years, and a lot of them have gone on to join a B School of their dreams. I am here today to be with you so that I can pitch in into your journey, so that I can act as your personal coach and help you move along this journey. And hi Kumaresan, I did not see you in the last couple of sessions. I hope everything is all right, huh? So in this particular session, we plan to look at those mistakes that prevent people from getting into their dream college, their dream B school. And I plan to talk not only about those mistakes, I will also tell you how to fix them. So this is going to be a session which will basically take a helicopter view, and in case you happen to have a particular challenge, a particular issue that bothers you more, do let me know, and then you and I can someday later dive deeper into that particular area and ensure that we are able to fix those issues, even by looking at the minutiae, even by looking at the most minor of the details. Right? And before I start, I don't want you to think that, oh, I'm going to scare you and all that. See, I personally have a very healthy outlook towards mistakes. Mistakes are a very integral part. If you're not making mistakes, it basically means that you're not even doing anything. Right? So please do make mistakes. When you start preparing, mistakes are bound to happen. But whenever mistakes happen, this is what I want you to keep in mind. So there are only three things you should ever do about it: admit it, learn from it, and really important, do not repeat it. So during the course of this session, you may see some mistakes that you make. So I tell you how to fix those. So accept that you make those mistakes, learn from those, and then make sure that you move towards a zone where you no longer repeat. Fair enough? So what do you think? Otherwise, before I start talking about my mistakes, what do you think? What is this one mistake that is holding you back? What is it that you have so far observed is acting as an obstacle, is acting as a roadblock in your journey towards success? और ये होगा, जब तैयारी करते हैं कोई ना कोई चीजें, कुछ ना कुछ चीजें तो ऐसी होती है ना जो हमें रोक देती है, हमें बांध देती है. So what is it that stops you? So until you share your answers with me in the chat box, let me go ahead and talk about this one mistake I see a lot of people make, and that is poorly defined goals. See, I help a lot of people become successful in quite a few different arenas. Okay, so CAT prep is obviously one dominant role that I play, but then I have studied psychology, and I look at those psychological factors a lot when I observe people. So for example, I have a few friends who want to lose weight. So their goal is lose weight. That's it. I have some students who say that I want to become better at vocabulary, for instance, better vocab, better communication. I see these kinds of goals very frequently. Let's just pick up one of these: lose weight. What do you think? Is it a well-defined goal? So that's one. So when the goals are poorly defined, our strategies are obviously not going to be perfect. You may end up shooting towards a direction, you may end up putting your efforts toward a direction that will have no bearing on your goal. It is not going to take you closer to your goal. So for instance, what is the fix now? So the fix is, whenever you start any journey, ask yourself a simple question whose answer should be this sentence. Okay, this blank should be filled. So you need to have a goal, and that goal should be clear, that goal should be identified. In fact, let me use a slightly different phrase. Can I say identified and clarified goal? Let's just make it parallel. Sounds better. So just write your identified and clarified goal. Now, what do we mean by identified goal? So identified goal is, for example, if I talk about my friend, his identified goal is lose weight. So one of the first things that I did when I started working with him was, do you want to lose weight or do you want to lose fat? See, you can lose weight by getting rid of your muscles. You can lose weight by donating your inner organs even when you are alive. But is that what you want? So make sure that you identify the correct goal, that okay, lose fat, and then clarify it further. So what do I mean by clarifying? So the problem is, if you lose 1 kilo, you've lost weight. If you lose 10 kilos, you've lost weight. So the problem is, people do not clarify it. And the moment their weight drops by 1 kilos, they become happy, they go and party, they'll go out and have their chole bhature and their butter chicken and God knows what else. And as a result, their weight comes back to that earlier state. So goal should be binary. Clarified basically in this domain would mean exactly, how many kilos, right? Or how many inches. So it should be very measurable. It should be very objective. At any given point of time, if somebody asks us, have you achieved it? We should be able to measure it against that target, that clarified goal, and say that, no, I haven't achieved it yet. I'm halfway there. So in our case, in the case of a B school aspirant, what I see is that a lot of people have this goal, and the goal is prepare for the CAT. Now, the problem with this is that the moment you sit down to study for the CAT, your goal is met. You're preparing for the CAT, but that's not your goal, right? Your goal actually is to get into a particular B school or to get into a particular set of colleges. So you need to have a set of colleges that you're targeting. If you get into any of those colleges, you can say that, okay, my goal is over. But to keep it simple, instead of thinking about a set of colleges, how about thinking of just one college? So which college do you want to get into? So for a B school aspirant, the goal will be, or that person will write, my identified and clarified goal is to get into, say, IIM Ahmedabad. The goal could be to get into XLRI. The goal could be to get into FMS. The goal could be to get into, say, MICA, whatever it is, whatever your dream B school is. Make sure that you go ahead and write it down here. The moment you write that goal down here, you'd suddenly notice that you'd have a lot of focus seeping into your preparation. See, the moment your goal becomes clear, a really wonderful clarity that emerges is that of resource requirement. You will know how much you need to study. You will know what kind of percentile I need to get. You know what kind of effort you need to put in. So it's only when you have that clarity that you're able to bring in your A game. So let's reiterate. Mistake number 1 is poorly defined goal. You and I are not going to make that mistake. For us, the clear definition is just to have that clarity of the B school that you want to target, and then work your way from there, right? Greek, UK, FF, if you can make it a little simple to address you, I'd actually be, it'll be easier for me. So कुछ नाम बता दो यार, थोड़ा आसान हो जाएगा. So there are 20 IIMs, and when you say IIM A, you're talking about Ahmedabad or Amritsar. आजकल ये फाइट हो गए यार. So please make sure that we no, so it's IIM Bangalore or Bodh Gaya. So have a very clearly identified goal. The second big mistake that I see a lot of people make is that they do not prepare a plan. Now, when I look at you, I think of you as a professional student. See, for me, you're a professional student. You may not look at it that way. You may think I'm just a student, but then frankly, that is your profession. And once you start preparing for your CAT, you also become a a professional CAT aspirant. Now, have you seen professionals? You notice these people who work at offices, work in corporates, they will typically have a very detailed plan of their preparation. They will not leave anything to chance. On the other hand, when I look at a lot of aspirants, they do not believe in preparing in that professional manner. And that lack of professionalism, that lack of showing up for your job and doing it in a systematic and planned way is another aspect that affects the preparation adversely. So make sure that you go ahead and prepare a detailed plan. So how do you go about preparing a good plan? So here it is. The fix. Number 1, identify the syllabus. Now I've put syllabus in quotes because when you start preparing for something like the CAT, to label it as a syllabus is a little weird. Huh? When we think of the syllabus, we just think of a list of chapters that we need to go through. Preparing for the CAT, getting a great rank there is going to be a tad bit different, but let us stick to syllabus. I would generally prefer using this term learning objectives otherwise. So figure out what is required. So for example, you want to get into IIM Ahmedabad. Okay. So now the question is, what is needed to get into IIM Ahmedabad? So you'd realize stuff like, I need to have a great CAT percentile, right? So you definitely want to get more than 99.8 percentile, especially if you are a GEM, general category engineering male. So how do you get this amazing CAT percentile? You get it by mastering all the components of the CAT exam. But then apart from the CAT percentile, you need to do well at the analytical writing test, you need to do well at the personal interview, and you may also need to look at your profile a bit. Okay, especially those aspects, those components of profile which are ahead in the future. Let's not worry about whatever was in the past. So make a detailed breakdown of all of these things. That, okay, what all do I need to master in the CAT? What all chapters of quant? What all chapters of DI, LR, English, what? Just list everything down. Do you need to work on your communication skills? Do you need to work on your ability to influence others? Do you need to analyze or do you need to enhance your critical thinking? Do you need to become a better writer so that you can do well in AWTs? Everything. So identify that entire syllabus, and in case you struggle with it, work with one of the faculty members at this platform, work with us, and we can give you that much needed clarity. Then once you've identified, so write everything down, whatever you think needs to be done, and thereafter divide it all into monthly and weekly goals. So we know that the CAT exam will happen in the second half of November, right? So you would ideally like to be through with the entire syllabus by, say, what, August? So can I say finish the syllabus by August, and thereafter just work on mastering those areas, becoming better at those things, taking care of even the smallest of the problems that you have. So at the end of August, and I'm being very generous, okay, August is also pretty generous. People who work with me, I give them a lot stiffer targets at times. So we need to finish the syllabus and then move towards mastering that syllabus. So from August onwards, there shouldn't be an area that you haven't studied at all. There shouldn't be an area where you think that, okay, now I need to go ahead and start with that chapter. So now that we have that broad timeline that we are in February, so from February to August, I need to finish everything. Then you go on to divide it into your monthly targets. Okay, so what all would you like to accomplish in March? What all would you like to do in April, May, June, July? Okay, and just make sure that you break it down. Now, a month is also a fairly sizable chunk. So once you've divided into monthly goals, sit down and break it down into weekly goals. So what I typically do is that I look at the entire syllabus, I divide it into monthly, weekly goals. I am also learning a few things nowadays. And then I divide it into weekly goals. So basically 1 day a week. So for me, that day is Tuesday, right? So it can be some other day for you. So every Tuesday, I sit down and I review my week. I see whether I have managed to accomplish whatever I'd set out to accomplish during the last week or not. And I do it on Tuesday because my Tuesday and Wednesday are usually lighter. So I have these 2 days where I can put in extra effort and cover the backlog. So you should also sit down and analyze it on a day when your schedule is relatively lighter. For a lot of you, it can be a Sunday, maybe a Saturday, whatever. Right? So once you've divided everything into monthly and weekly goals, get into this habit of making a daily to-do list. So every night before I go to sleep, I jot down everything that I plan to do tomorrow. And then there are friends of mine who would not do it a night before, but when they wake up, that is the first thing that they do. So whichever school of thought you belong to, you want to write it in the evening before you hit the sack, or you want to write it when you wake up in the morning, entirely up to you. But make sure that you get into that habit of making your to-do list. So any question, any concern so far, make sure that you keep sharing that in the chat window. And then there are 4 additional things that I want to talk about when it comes to the to-do list. See, your to-do list is a plan of your day. I see a lot of people who just put in the study elements. Now, has it ever happened to you that you prepared a to-do list and you could not do everything in it? You missed out on taking care of those tasks consistently? Ever happened to you? That's because we ignore these we make some cardinal sins, we ignore some basics. So one of the problems that people have is that they think it is a plan of their study. No, it is a plan of your day. So whatever you plan to do tomorrow, it should be written there. You plan to go watch a movie? Write it down. You have a cousin visiting over? Write it down. You heading out on a date? Write it down. And of course, whatever you plan to study, write it down. That will ensure that your plan remains sensible. The second thing that you need to do is make sure that your plan is task oriented. So what I mean by this is that if you enter something like 2 to 3 p.m. quant, then that is wrong. It should be task oriented, where you write a particular chapter or a particular set of questions that you need to do in quant. Another added point here is that make it measurable, make it specific. So even if you write that I'd study, say, number system, or if you write I'd go through profit loss discount in quant, that won't work. Make it very precise. So can you say that I am going to pick up a particular book where I will go to exercise number 3 and I am going to solve questions 1 through 20. That's measurable. That will ensure that you keep performing according to the plan. And then finally, out of all the things that you've jotted down to do in that day, make sure that you take care of the difficult things first. Anything that is challenging, anything that is draining, anything that you don't want to do, anything that bothers you no end, make sure that you do those things first. A lot of us keep working on the easy things, and by the time we are at the end of the day where we have less energy, less focus, we notice that we are left with some of the most challenging or some of the most thankless things. Okay, so the most worrisome, the most challenging things first. The Chinese people, the Chinese have a quote. They say, eat that frog first. If you're supposed to eat a lot of things and you're also supposed to eat a frog and you don't like eating a frog, then you can either keep it for the end or polish it off at the beginning. They advise that you do it at the beginning so that you can look forward to the rest of the day. So keep these 4 things in mind, and I'm sure your to-do list is not going to be a problem or a challenge for you, right? So with that, let us dive into our mistake number 3. So our third mistake is procrastination. You have set a goal, you have made a plan, but then you do not work. You leave things for the last moment, right? So what is procrastination? Procrastination is where you just push things for later, where even if you sit down to study, even if you sit down to work, you just wander off and start thinking of other things. Procrastination, simply put, is a waste of time, and a lot of people fail to realize our ability because we procrastinate, because we do not show up for work. So what can we do for procrastination? How do we ensure that we are able to work consistently? Do share your strategies in the chat box, and I will go ahead and share mine. So typically what I do is that I say that, okay, why not identify some external sources of motivation? See, motivation allows us to work. Are there any external sources? So for example, there are a lot of self-help books that make you feel all charged up. Any of these. I've read quite a few of these in my life. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is something that I really love. If you want to look at something simpler, you can look at this book called You Can Win by Shiv Khera. It has some really motivating short stories. So maybe what you can do is that read a couple of pages before you go off to sleep, and then when you wake up, read a couple of pages again, and that hopefully will put you in the right frame of mind and you'd start executing. Similarly, you may have some people in your life, some individuals who can push you forward, who bat for you, who are in your team. You go and talk to them and you come back and you're all charged up, raring to go. So talk to those people more often. So do realize that motivation is a finite, renewable resource. You do run out of motivation, right? Motivation is like taking a shower. You've taken a shower today, you'd once again need to take another one tomorrow. So a single shower is not going to last you for months. But thankfully, it is a renewable resource. You can renew it with the help of some self-help books, with the help of talking to some people. So there are some things in the world outside that you'd find inspiring. Make sure that you do make use of those things. And apart from that, also figure out some of those internal sources of motivation. We shouldn't rely just on external sources. What are those things that drive you as a person? For example, when you are preparing for the CAT, why is it that you want to get into your dream B school? Is it the money? If yes, then it's actually not the money, but there are certain things that money can buy. So what are those things that you want to have? Do you want to have a car? Do you want to have a house? Do you want to have anything else that the money can bring in which will make your life better? Right? Is it going to confer a certain amount of status? Is there a person who thinks you can't do it and you want to show that person that you can do it? Are you doing it for your parents? Do you want to make them feel proud? So if you look within you, you'd realize that it is actually not about getting into that B school. It is about certain benefits that come your way when you are a product of that B school. So tune into YFM and you'd have your internal sources of motivation. So what is YFM? YFM is a simple question that you ask yourself. What is in it for me? मैं अगर ये करता हूं तो मेरा क्या फायदा होगा? So just focus on that, and that should take care of motivation. And then additionally, remove friction. Okay. So I read this interesting study that said that if you want to start a task and you don't like that task much, or you're not in a habit of performing that task much, then if it takes you more than 20 seconds to start that task, then chances are that you won't start it. So for instance, there is a friend of mine who wanted to learn to play the guitar, but the guitar was kept in his storeroom. So if he wants to play the guitar, it would mean that he had to go to that storeroom, take out the guitar, bring it out of the case, then sit and then play. And that was proving a bit too much. So I gifted him a nice guitar stand to keep in his living room. And then I went to his store, I picked up the guitar and I put it on that stand outside of the case, right next to the place where he generally plays the guitar. So now a task that took 2 minutes takes 5 seconds. The guitar is there, he just needs to pick it and start strumming. These become more regular. So similarly, whatever you want to read, whatever you want to study, can you take out all of those things and put them at or near the place where you study? So right now there is a place where I am taking this session from. The table at which I work is pretty close to this place, and whatever I want to do today, whatever I want to study today is on that table. The soft copies, there are times when we refer to some videos, there are times when we refer to some PDFs. I have a folder where I put in those things that I plan to use today. They're already there. So I've minimized friction so that I can go on and be regular. And right now, one more friction there is this another thing that I normally observe. People don't hit the like button. Do you think it is going to take you more than 20 seconds to hit the like button right now? No, there is hardly any friction. Your thumb just needs to go to that right place and press. It's just a 1-second job for you. So we have removed that friction for you. So make sure that you start overcoming your procrastination by performing that first task of liking the video. And then use the Pomodoro technique. So there are times when we are worried, we are scared because there is so much to do. But what the Pomodoro technique does is that it breaks it all into tiny chunks. So what you typically do is that you go ahead and you study for 20 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you come back. So you again sit down for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break, then sit down for 20 minutes. And thereafter, once you've put in 3 Pomodoros, then you take a longer break. So gradually I started using the Pomodoro technique and I realized that I gradually was able to focus for longer and longer periods. So today when I sit down, I am very easily able to sit for 40 minutes. Then I take a 5-minute active break. So active break is where it's not that I just sit and while away. I'd walk. I will hydrate. So I'll just take that break and then I'll come back. I'd sit for another 40 minutes. The deep work helps me a lot. But 40 minutes is still down in future. If you can sit for 20 minutes, that's fabulous. There are more things that you can do about procrastination. I'm not even getting into the mental or the psychological aspects. I've seen some people who actually suffer from ADHD. They do not even know it. And it is their ADHD which is a cause of their procrastination. There are some people who use procrastination as a mechanism to deal with some trauma. So I'm not going into those things. But whatever I've talked about so far in this session, not only within this domain of procrastination, but even the things that we talked about prior to this, if you start implementing those, they are definitely going to help your procrastination a lot. It'll definitely be very useful. And another thing that you can do is that we have this fabulous session taking place on 11th of February. People who procrastinate or people who struggle with the time management thing, you can register and attend this session. It's taken by Srinivasan sir, where we talk about managing your CAT preparation along with your job, along with your studies. And in that session, you'll get some more pointers. We'd be able to dive deeper, right? And here comes the mistake number 4, and that is using the wrong strategy. So you have taken care of everything. Now you don't even procrastinate. You do put in the effort. But then, sadly, if your strategy is not right, you'd obviously struggle. So what can be an easy climb to the top becomes a chore that is exhausting. So what all goes wrong in the strategy? We fail to figure out the difference between knowledge and skills. So in a way, we've studied for a long time for our school exams, for our college exams. They were by and large knowledge centric, where if you go through certain amount of a certain number of chapters, you can start excelling. But when it comes to the aptitude test, the game is a little different. Yes, there are things which are knowledge based, and you can use the kind of strategy you have used so far in your life for them. But then these exams also test your skills. For instance, these exams test your reading skills. Remember RC? These exams will test your calculation skills. These exams will test your critical thinking. Some of these exams will also test your communication skills. Okay, there are exams, MAHCET, ZAT, where you need to write an essay at the level of the exam itself. So when it comes to skills, you need to adopt a different approach. You realize that skills do not improve when you sit on a table and a chair and you go through a chapter. Skills improve through practice. You do not become a good swimmer by reading about swimming. You do not become a great batsman or a great badminton player by reading upon it. You need to go ahead and practice. So when it comes to skills, you need to adopt that entirely different approach where you prioritize practicing those things every day. And it's only then that you go on and become excellent. So prioritize practice in these domains. Then there are these physical and mental aspects of preparation. So there are times when we are not able to study because we are constantly exhausted. Maybe our sleep, our nutrition, our hydration, these are the things which are preventing us from doing or delivering our best. Why are we talking about it? Unlike your college exam where you just need to pass, here you need to be among the top few in the country. So your physical conditioning needs to be amazing. Your mental conditioning needs to be amazing. You realize if you ask people what is needed to become successful, what does it take to succeed, you would notice they'll talk about things like focus, discipline, dedication, determination, persistence, patience. You realize all of these are mental aspects, and if you are ignoring those mental aspects, then chances are that that is going to affect your preparation. You realize you need to maintain that self-belief. You need to have that necessary fortitude, that mental toughness to stick to it day in and day out for the next few months. So if you are just looking at the syllabus literally and you're ignoring these other things, then chances are that these things may pull you back. Similarly, some people take a very myopic view. Myopic view is that I just need to prepare for the CAT. But then you need to take a holistic view. It's not about just the CAT. There are other exams too, right? You'd be writing XAT, you'd be writing IFT, you'd be writing NMAT, you'd be writing SNAP. So you need to cover these other things. Besides, it is not about just clearing the written exam. It is also about preparing for the subsequent rounds. You need to prepare for what comes after these exams as well. You cannot really become an excellent interviewee in 6 weeks of preparation, right? So you need to work on each one of these aspects instead of focusing on just the CAT preparation. So prepare for the other exams, prepare for the subsequent stages as well. And if you don't do that, you just end up playing catch up, and you'd reduce your chances of making it to your Dream B school. So the biggest fix that I can suggest is the BYJU'S course. Okay, so we have our comprehensive CAT 23 course that is starting, which takes care of all of these things. It will talk about knowledge, it will talk about skills. You have a team that is available which will help you with all of those other issues that I have just mentioned, right? So to a certain extent, it will also take care of your discipline because there are these live sessions, you notice. Let me pick up a different color. So you have 135 live classes. Not only that, you also happen to have more than 300 recorded videos, 10,000 practice questions, right? GD interview preparation, along with some of those hard copies to help you prepare even better, to bring in that tangible aspect to the preparation too, and to make it easy for you to join this course. We keep conducting our scholarship test regularly. The next one is on 18th of February. So make sure that you write it and get that scholarship. It'll take care of a lot of these issues for you. And then here comes mistake number 5. Not testing yourself regularly. I don't know why people don't test here. Writing tests, sectional tests, mock tests is like standing in front of a mirror. So it's only when you stand in front of a mirror that you realize where you stand. It's only when you see that, only when you sit down and write those tests, that you can figure out your shortcomings, right? So the fix is pretty simple. BYJU'S exam prep. We give you more than 75 mock tests. Quite a few of these are mock CATs, and then there is a significant number that addresses other exams too. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to sit for a test, you need to have access to the tests. So, BYJU'S exam prep gives you that access. And then once you write a test, whatever your score is, whatever your percentile is, avoid emotional vocabulary. So I've seen people who come back and then they say that my score is, they talk about my score is not good. My score is bad. My score is horrible. My score is disastrous. All of these are emotional words. Avoid using emotional words for your scores. So the only 2 words that I know are a score or a percentile is low, a score or a percentile is high. Just fact-based words. So if it is low today, it's all right. We just want to take it to a journey, to a level where it can be labeled high. And once you analyze the paper, right? Once you analyze the paper, you would realize what needs to be fixed in order to move from that low score to that high score. So it's your analysis that will help you customize your plan. So you sat down for an exam and then you suddenly notice that, oh, I am making a lot of mistakes in the overview based questions in RC. So now you've found something. Work on fixing that issue, and when you write the next test, you'd notice that you'd end up getting not some 2-3 extra questions right. Or you may sit for an exam, you may analyze it, and you may realize that, oh, I'm making a lot of mistakes in inference. I'm making a lot of mistakes in arithmetic, particularly these 3 areas. So you can start focusing on that. So it's only when you stand in front of a mirror that you realize what is wrong. And once you realize what is wrong, you can go ahead and start taking care of those things. Rishikesh, when will the Maharashtra CET batch start? Yeah, I'd have to actually check with my team. But in the meanwhile, we are bringing a lot of Maharashtra CET specific sessions for you at this channel, on our app. Generally, a lot of students have actually found those helpful. But if somebody from the team has tuned in, if you have any idea about a batch launch, you can probably share it here. But otherwise, Rishikesh, I'd need to check and then get back to you on that. Okay. So that's about the fix for testing regularly. And I, in fact, welcome you to write this Maharashtra CET mock test that we have. So we keep on organizing these all India open mocks, right? So the next open mock that we are organizing is the Maharashtra CET mock. The window will open on February 11th and will go on till Feb 19th. All that you need to do is register yourself for this test and you can write it free of cost. So even today, you can figure out where you stand. And you can then devise a plan, devise a strategy to move towards your desired goal. Right. So go ahead, write the test. Okay. And if you have any other question, and of course you were there and you asked me some questions today. If you have any question that pops into your mind later, we are on all the platforms that you are at. Don't ignore this, okay? The greatest mistake a man can ever make is to be afraid of making one. So go out, start preparing, make mistakes, learn from them, do not repeat them. And if you have any question, we are on Instagram, we are on Telegram, we are on Facebook, we of course are on YouTube. You know that that's why you are here. So make sure that you follow us at these different platforms, and whenever a question, whenever a concern pops into your mind, just reach out to us and we would love to contribute to your journey. Right? So that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you once again very, very soon with some other topic, with some other area, and we continue working on all of these things together. So until I see you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Okay? Take care and have a great day.